Carolyn Dube here. What's the play for today? Well, today it's ugly. Yeah, ugly, and I'm excited about it. You see, there's a great gift that comes with ugly, and you're gonna see what it is in this video. This is one ugly background that I've got going on here, and that's exactly what I wanted for today. Now, why would I want something so ugly? Well, that's because it's a great place to play. Working on top of something that's ugly is an awesome way to just let go and play using whatever art supplies you happen to have nearby. Now, if my goal isn't to make something that's perfect and wonderful and some finished product, what's the purpose of this play? Why am I using these art supplies? The number one reason is because it's fun. I bought these art supplies, and you've probably bought a few too over the years, and the reason you bought them is you liked them, so we might as well use them and have some fun with them. Along with fun, you can also get a little bit of stress relief when you let yourself play with your art supplies. One of the things I love to do is make splats when I just feel like letting some stuff go. And so I've got alcohol inks here that I am just shaking all over the page. It's wonderful little fluid drops that are going everywhere. I don't know what exactly it is about that color going splat on there that brings me such joy, but it does, and I'm just going to keep on doing it because it feels good. And whatever feels good to you when you're using your art supplies, go for that. Enjoy it. You don't have to justify it. These are your art supplies, so go ahead and use those. Now, what I'm using here right now, this is the rainbow alcohol ink from Marabou, and I need to shake it up because there's like a mica or a glitter in it. That's what gives it the little bit of sparkle, because glitter makes everything a little bit better, right? We could all use more sparkle and shine. Lately, I've really been enjoying using alcohol inks to do splatters like this on things like art journal pages, painted things, not the usual stuff that you see alcohol inks used on. And the reason why I love doing it this way is because it doesn't take as long to dry. Alcohol inks dry a whole lot faster than regular ink or splots of paint, so that means these little drips and drops will dry, and then as I'm adding more layers onto it, it's not going to become one big soupy mess. So when you're playing, do you have to have the fanciest, newest, best art supplies? Nah, there are all sorts of things you can use. Quite frankly, anything that you can find, you can use. So whether it's a kid's supply, a student supply, an office supply, or anything else, you can use it. You have that total freedom when it comes to play. I'm going to be using the ever fancy Crayola crayon here. Yep, you know it. I stock up on those super cheap ones when it's back to school time. I love my 25-cent boxes of crayons. Now, anywhere that the paint is still really wet, crayons don't write nearly as well on top of. And if I get a buildup of wet paint on the crayon, then I simply wipe it off. I didn't realize how much I needed this play today until I was using that yellow crayon and it just snapped in my hand. Apparently, I was using so much force there that poor crayon didn't make it through. But the good news is, half a crayon still adds color just as well as a full crayon. So with this next brave crayon, will it make it out of the play in one piece, or will it be broken into little bits by the time it's done? These are the trials and tribulations that crayons in my stash have to put up with all the time. Now this happens to be one of the lucky crayons because this one is going to make it out in one solid piece. When you're playing on wet paint, not everything can make it through that in one piece, namely pens. Wet paint is brutal on pens. So what I use are something called a fine liner when I want to do some writing or some mark making on top of wet paint. And what these are tubes that come empty and you fill them with whatever you want. So this one happens to have a fluid black paint in it, and basically anything that's runny and will squirt out the tip, you can use in these things. So even though the paint is still wet on there, the fine liner will allow me to get those fine black lines on there without risking ruining something. Because as wet as this paint is, it would ruin any pen that I would put on it. This probably isn't going to surprise you one bit, but at this point, I have no plan for what I'm doing. I'm just simply enjoying having that fine liner in my hand and seeing how those black marks look, because this is play. This is about the fun, the relaxation, and just enjoying those art supplies. At this point, the paint had had some time to dry. Not because I found a sudden burst of patience, but because I got called away by life. You know, those things happen. And one of the gifts of that was that I got to come back to the paint being a little bit drier. You might not know this, but if you let acrylic paint be for a little bit, it will actually dry. I know, right? These crazy things that you didn't expect to learn here in this video. Before I even turn the camera on for this play, there's something that I did that's about to be very important. And that is I put some barrier cream on my hands. And this is basically like a greasy lotion that when you put it on, it creates a barrier between the paints or whatever art supply you're using and your skin. This also helps with cleanup too. It makes it a lot easier to wash your hands and get the stuff off. So it's a win-win. One, your hands are protected, and two, they stay a little bit softer. Now, if you're curious about any of the supplies that I'm using in this video, I'll have that all linked over on the website at acolorfuljourney.com, and you can just use the link down below to take you right on over to the blog post. One of the questions that I get asked is, how do you know when to stop? Well, when it comes to play, there are 3 reasons why I will stop. And the first one is I run out of time. There's just not enough time in the day, so sometimes you gotta stop because there are other things that you have to do. The second reason that I'll stop is because I feel like it. Maybe it's the end of the day and I've had my fun and I kind of feel a little tired. I'll stop then. Or for whatever reason, I just feel like stopping. I don't question it. I don't try and explain it. I just gotta go, okay, I'm gonna stop now. And then the third reason is a theoretical reason. It's not one I've ever experienced, but it's a logical reason why you might stop, and that is you run out of supplies. So I imagine if I actually had nothing left that I could art with, then I'd have to stop playing. But truly, since just about anything can become a supply for art play, it's really hard to actually run out of anything at all that you can use for play. Lots of layers have built up on here, and I want to do a little flashback here for you to the beginning of the video, because remember, this is where it started. Oh, incredibly ugly, but it's really changed and transformed to this, and it's all because of play. Over the years, I've heard plenty of adults tell me they'd love to play, but they feel like they just don't know how. And it's really that they don't remember how to do it, because when they were kids, when we were all kids, we knew how to play, we knew how to do this, and then as we became adults, we sort of forgot how. Now, there are some very specific things that you can do to get back in touch with that part of yourself, to remember how to play, and to help you out, I've put them all into a free workshop called Permission to Play. So if you want to feel that freedom of play, if you want to let loose, take a peek at it, check it out. It's completely free, and it's over at acolorfuljourney.com. And yep, I'll have a link down below for you too. Well, thanks so much for joining me for today's play. Now that you've seen mine, it's time for you to grab your art supplies and just have some fun enjoying those and letting yourself play. And thank you for letting me be a part of your colorful journey.